everyone, it's me, Teresa Perrin. Hope everyone's having a great night. I noticed something pretty phenomenal in the after hours today, and that was my stock scanner was going off a lot more than normal. And there was a trend with what was being called out. Many of the tickers that are on this list, XELA, GRNQ, MOTS, FAMI, and MKD, have undergone reverse stock splits because essentially they were shorted down to oblivion, like to below $1. So in order to meet NASDAQ listing requirements, they had to do a reverse split. I'm sure many of you are well aware of XELA and how it was brought down to about 10 cents prior to this happening. And essentially a reverse split, even though it doesn't change the price, it lowers your share count, and as an effect, shorts tend to target these, and they're already very heavily beat up, which is what gets them in this predicament. But then when they do the reverse split, physically change the shares. So let's say, for an example, XELA. I don't remember off the top of my head what the number was, but let's say it was 20-to-1 reverse split, right? And each share was 10 cents, and you had 100 shares of XELA at 10 cents each. Well, after that reverse split, you would have 5 shares of XELA at $2 each. Does that make sense? So essentially, you're having a lot less shares, but at a higher price. But the problem becomes that usually initially after the reverse split, shorts pile on harder to try to tank the price even more so that they can cover for the lowest possible price. Now, in the case of XELA, as you know, it was already beaten down to essentially nothing, and then they shorted it even more. Literally, guys, making it so that they could cover for pennies. Really. And right now, I think based on these names and a few others, like Pets isn't up there, PETZ. But off the top of my head, let's focus on these ones because these were ones getting called out today, with the exception of the last one, MKD. It's one that I've been eyeing because it fits this criteria. Another one that's not up there, just to give you a heads up for some other ones you might want to look at, is SOS, Sundial, SNDL. And I'm sure there's a lot of others, guys. I mean, basically, there's been a lot of stocks that have been beat up really bad and are in this situation. Now, what I'm going to show you is what happened after hours, because it seemed like, as far as covering went, at least, probably one hedge fund or, maybe a group of them started to say that they are looking for shares to cover their position because the market's moving up, guys. And when the SPY moves up, it makes it higher risk for them to have short positions. And there comes a point where it's better for them to close their shorts and go long in the stock. And this is a game that they play over and over and over again. And you're going to see it because as long as the SPY keeps trending up, which it seems that we are in that cycle right now, whether it's going to last, I don't know. But currently, for whatever reason, the market's pumping, right? It's like all of a sudden, Nancy Pelosi went over to Taiwan and China made threats to the U.S. and I don't know, but it doesn't seem like stocks should be pumping, but they are. So anyways, take it with a grain of salt, enjoy it while it lasts. We need some green. This is good. But what I'm saying is there's a lot of opportunity right now if this continues to make some money. And where I noticed that this is a specific group because these were the ones getting called out. And every time I went to look, it had the same thing going on. It was, within several months or the last few months, it had a reverse split. So you may know others. If you do, great. If there's something you've been watching or something that, you've been beat down hard on, now may be an opportunity because I think tomorrow this is going to continue, which is why I'm bringing these to your attention. So let's take a look at a few of these. And again, guys, these images were taken prior to closing, so the price may have changed, but essentially you're going to see my point. So let's get started. Remember, nothing I say is financial advice. Okay guys, the purpose of this video is going to be to show you the ticker, the float, and what the 52-week high and lows were. And I'm also going to show you a chart that I've pulled out so you can see if there was a much higher, 2 or 3 year out high. Because right now I want you to build a list with what I'm giving you and use it, because if it starts running, it'll give you some ideas of price targets. Now, I'm not saying it's going to get to any of these levels or higher or lower or whatever. I don't know, because I don't know what the market's going to do going forward. However, I want you to make a list and put down what the current free float is. The smaller the float, the easier it is for the price to run up and down, as well as the 52-week high, 52-week low, and all-time high, according to what I'm going to show you. Okay, so let's start with XELA. In the after hours, I took this picture at 6:30. It was at 167, and it was up 14.38%. Last I looked, it was up even higher. I'm not sure off the top of my head how high it got or if it pulled back, so you'll have to double check that. But my point is, that's a huge run for the after hours, right? So pay attention to that. Now let's look at what it's done. If you go back in this chart, the all-time high, guys, was $192. And look at all of these gaps essentially to be filled, because there's a gap right in the middle of this one. So that's still a gap, a gap, a gap, a gap. Check that out. So, essentially, this could go on a run, and we have no idea of knowing how high it could go, right? That's physically impossible to know, but I can tell you it's very heavily shorted. It's very heavily beat down. A lot of people lost a lot of money in this ticker, and they want it back. And along with them probably buying more to dollar cost average down, which is exactly what, people should be doing if they can afford to. On top of that, you're going to get FOMO buying coming in too. So this has the potential to make some really nice gains when it gets moving, because, the float's also a lot smaller. I think I said the float, guys, but if I didn't, it's 64.53 million with a 125, 50, 52-week low, a 70, 80, 52-week high, and an all-time high of $192. So that all-time low was actually reached today, I believe, and, it ran from there. It could have been yesterday. It was one of the 2 days. Let's go on to the next one. That was GRNQ. And when I tell you this thing was going off like crazy, I think you can see, because, guys, it literally ran from $1.83 at close up to $3.20. And at one point it was over $4. I kid you not. I don't know what it closed at. But at this time, again, 629, 74.86% up in after hours. But guys, if you look at the float, it's only 3.63 million shares, okay? With a 52-week low of $1.28, a 52-week high of $23.70, and an all-time high of $41.50. Now, I find it kind of interesting that 128 was its all-time low and XELA's was 125. It's like, is there some magic number that they were targeting here? Makes you have to wonder, right? But you see how quickly this can run because its float is very, very small. Just so you guys know, Tough Built also fits into this category, okay? It's another one that had the same thing happen, and it should have ran today, yet it didn't. And that was odd because they had more than the entire float due in failure to delivers. So I did make a separate video on that. That's why it's not included in this list. So be sure to check it out, because that is the #1 short squeeze candidate, in my honest opinion. It has over 219% short interest. So be sure to watch that and know what's happening there, because I think there's going to be a lot of money made in that stock. All right, now MOTS. MOTS also had a very nice run at one point, and I was reading some of the comments, guys. There's some crazy stuff going on here because the float is only 127.3 thousand shares. I have never ever seen a float this small. Like, this is tiny. like really, really tiny. So anyways, this one had a 52-week high of $18.94 and a 52-week low of $3.85. It was up over $6 at one point in the after hours, but when I snapped this at 6:25, it was it went from $4.80 to $5.65, which was up 17.71%. Now, the all-time high of this stock is $54.80. So this is just kind of a rough estimate. If shorts start to cover and FOMO comes in, guys, keep all of this in mind. MKD. Guys, this is the one that I said hasn't really ran much compared to the others, but has a really small float and I think could essentially rip, because you'll see when I show you the all-time high, it's crazy. But it was up 6.56% when I took this picture at 6:13, and I was waiting thinking this is going to be the next one. So we'll see what happens. But very interesting. The 52-week low was 42 cents and the 52-week high $10.05. Now, as you can see, the 42 cents is the all-time low and the all-time high is $33.45. Now, the really scary part about this one is it's already done a reverse split. See that S here? I think that's the indication for when it's split. But guys, because it's trading under $1 again, essentially, if this doesn't start running, which is probably what they're hoping for, they could be forced to do another reverse split. However, we see it is starting to go up, and with the market changing, let's hope for their sake they're not forced into that, because that would be really sad for this company. It's actually a good company too, believe it or not. FAMI. A lot of people probably know this one in the retail. And sorry, this one's going to be a little bit backwards, but you can see the reverse split by that S here. It hit an all-time low of $1.01. And then I took this right when it started running, guys, so it may have gone up much higher than this, but it had gone up to $1.24 at my time, 6:25, of taking this image. It was up 12.73%, and it was still going. But as you can see here, the free float is 21.94 million. So guys, again, that's pretty small. 52-week low is 1.01, so $1.01, and a 52-week high of $14.75. And those are, the 5 that I'm targeting. I gave you a couple extras: Sundial, SOS, Pets, which is PETZ. That's one that I've been watching for a while, and it has had a lot of small runs. I didn't hear it going off in the after hours today. Guys, that's one that has a very small float and one I would definitely keep on your radar as well. Sundial, as you know, has been a retail favorite. That one wasn't going off either. SOS wasn't going off either, but it's gone on and off a couple days. And if we go on a crypto run, like I think we might, like as far as crypto-related stocks go, then I do believe that SOS will run with it. Another one that hasn't reverse split, but while we're talking about crypto, I'll give you another bonus. I would take a look at Nile and keep that on your watch list, because it has fallen very, very hard and probably will be having a reverse split if it doesn't start running to the upside soon. If it's traded on the NASDAQ, I'm not sure if that's an OTC stock or NASDAQ. I'd have to double check that, but it's definitely one that's beat down. So keep that on your radar as well, because like I said, I think with the market pumping, crypto is going to start pumping with it. And in essence, the crypto mining stocks are going to start running as well. So just a little bonus for you. And I did actually notice today when I was looking through some of, the, large volume options trades, that there were a couple of bullish crypto ones bought for the 19th. So, as far as Mara and Riot went, huge amounts of contracts being purchased, guys. So I do think we're going to see a run, because smart money knows where it's going, right? Anyways, thanks so much for watching. Keep these on your radar tomorrow. Hope you all make a